What is up, Blaze Buddies? What's going on, everyone? Listen, I know you noticed the beard. Not sure about it just yet. Every time it comes in white like this, I start feeling my age. So I don't know. I'm going to let it go a little further, see what I can do. At this point, I usually hang it up and I buzz it all off, but that's not why we're here today. Today we're here to talk about genes. I'm not talking about the clothing, of course. I'm talking about genetics. Whenever we hear the term genetics, it refers to our genes. We are all comprised and made up of genes, a sequence, a code, an interlocking code. Think of it like a combination lock. Every lock has a different combination. We're all very unique in that way. It really is all about genetics. Now, when you're in we'll just use the gym terminology, gym setting. We always use or loosely use the term, that person's got good genetics. That, he or she, they look the way they do because of their genetics. They're gifted. Now, when people say that, they're referring to the appearance, they look extraordinarily muscular or lean, and they stand out. Now, it really is true, though, that we are limited by our genetics, and also we're limited by our hormones, and all of that, again, is an individual thing. So let me give you myself as an example. Now, I don't want to go into, my whole history of working out and all that stuff, but from a very young age, I discovered I was very strong, abnormally strong. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying I was not normal. I was a sprinter. No one could beat me. I mean, there are some people who will come on here and debate, but I was the fastest sprinter in school going up to about high school. And yeah, I'll give him that. At that point, I wasn't doing any more running, but I was a fast sprinter. But from a very young age, I discovered I could lift some serious weight in the gym. Not normal. I mean, I was benching 300 when I was a freshman in high school. I was deadlifting 500 when I was in my teens. I mean, for fun, I used to go in the parking lot at my high school and move cars around. And I always thought, wow, that's, it's weird. Why am I like that? Well, I just discovered a couple years ago because I've always been really into ancestry and my heritage and, going back on my father's side, my mother's side. And on 23andMe, I discovered that I possess a rare gene called the ACTN3 gene, which is prevalent in power athletes. And to be honest, that only 18% of the population of this earth has the mutated gene that I have. I have a variant of that gene called the RX577 gene. The ACTN gene mutation has 3 different variants. There's one, without getting too geeky and confusing you guys, there's 3 different kinds. There's one that is specifically prevalent and power athletes, sprinters, power, things involving power, explosiveness. Then on the opposite end of the spectrum, there's one that's the complete opposite. It's mostly endurance. They have a high capacity for endurance, long distance runners, cyclists, and so on. And then myself, I'm in the middle. I have the variant in the middle of it, have a little bit of both sides. And it makes a lot of sense because when I first started working out by myself in the basement, I was using my brother's weight set, and I only had 110 pounds total of weights. So at some point, I was maxing out with all that weight, and I just kept the reps going higher and higher. Eventually, I was doing like 30, 40 reps with 100 pounds, only being like 148 pounds at the time. And I just progressively got stronger and stronger and stronger. And now at some point, one of my friends in the neighborhood, we all found a bunch of cast iron weights in some old abandoned building. We brought them all over to my house, and now I had like 300-400 pounds that I could play with in the basement. I was extraordinarily strong. Now, that only, like I said, only 18% of the population have that gene variant, which is pretty freaking cool. Now, going on, again, I don't want to go on about myself, but going on into my 20s when I was in the military, I did some powerlifting competitions. I was doing some pretty crazy things. And when I got out, I was in the gym. I was doing ridiculously crazy things. I was pulling like 620, only weighing 165 pounds. I was squatting 6 1/4, only weighing 180 pounds. I was benching like over 400 or 500. Not normal. So, yes, genes has a strong impact. There are some freaks out there, and the ironic thing is, though, let's just use myself as another example. I was squatting and deadlifting 600 or more, but I never could get my legs big. I could never get them freakishly big like you see some bodybuilders have. I had the strength because that particular gene variant affects the muscle fibers, specifically the fast twitch, and in my case, fast twitch and slow twitch. So I could never grow in size my legs, but I could get them as strong as fuck. So it just goes to show that there's reasons why there are freaks in the gym, if you will. Now, the term genetics, we use that term loosely. We assume someone's got good genetics, but in the 30-something years of me training people for competitions, I've taken people from morbidly obese levels of body fat, and I've guided them down to 4 or 5% body fat to get on stage for men. And I've taken women really high in body fat down to close to 10, sometimes below 10%. And then you really see who has the gifted genetics. People in the gym think because they're jacked that they could just get on a bodybuilding or a fitness stage because they look good in the gym. But when it comes time for them to get down to show shape, we learn who the real genetic freaks are. Everyone and anyone can most definitely prep for a show if they have it up here and right here, right? But, I get guys coming to me and they look pretty jacked at the time, and they're like, dude, I want to do a show. I want to get up there. I want to get lean. I want to get shredded. And then when I tell them, okay, well, you're like 225 right now. You're probably hanging at like 16, 17%. You're going to have to drop about 12% body fat to get down to show shape. And you're looking at 35 pounds you're going to drop. And they're like, dude, I don't want to lose 35 pounds. I'll be too skinny. So this is a big difference. But if that particular person followed through, and then as they have in the past, we get them down to show shape, we see who really stands out. Anyone at 5% body fat is going to look good on stage, but the ones that stand out in a crowd, like I've said before, the ones in the gym where you in any given gym at any given time, anywhere, any gym in the world, you only really see 1, 2, maybe 3 people who stand out with those extraordinary attributes. And, people always assume that they're on steroids because they look like that, which is bullshit. That's an insult, to be honest. No, even with optimal genetics, even with gifted aesthetics, steroids are not the answer. I know a lot of people who are taking steroids who look like dog shit. Like, look, you can't just take a bunch of drugs and then magically grow muscle. There's a lot more involved than people think. So that's that. I was just gonna, say that, look, you may or may not have particular genes, gifted genes, but it really all boils down to having particular genetics, a particular code or combination, if you will, of DNA to determine, if you stand out or you don't. We're all capable of achieving greatness regardless. And a lot of that is up here. And of course, mostly nutrition, as I've always said. All right, I gotta go. Sorry I geeked out on you today with the science, but I hope you all have a great weekend. We're almost into February, so hang in there. We're almost through. I'll talk to you all soon. Take care.